We are here with Jacob Sofer from Metrosuite, and very, very excited to be sharing with you a wonderful business model that they are working at, which is modular houses that are really going in the laneways and garden suites that we've been talking about so much. Without further ado, Jacob.
Thanks so much, Lonnie, and I really appreciate you having us and me on your newsletter.
Pleasure. Of course, I'm super excited to be sharing the great things that you guys are working on at Metrosuite. So I guess let's start by understanding exactly what it is that you're doing, and if you can sort of share, maybe how it came about and the core business of what you're focusing on.
Yeah, absolutely. So this idea came about because of the serious lack of housing in Ontario. There's a crisis that we're seeing, as I'm sure you're very aware, and your clients as well. So we wanted to be part of the solution. This idea came about from my father, who really sparked the idea of modular construction as a way to build housing quicker and better. So, when the Garden Suites and Laneway Suite program, which has been around for a while, came about, we thought that we could apply prefabrication to housing. It was just a really great fit, and we've built a few products, garden and laneway suites, that can be put into backyards very quickly and at a very reasonable cost.
So you spoke with your father. So the background there is the TVM group, and there's a number of assets under management and properties that you guys also have right now that are under your management. It's about 1,000 doors. And so with that being said, you're saying that's where the emphasis on modular came in, and bringing in this product that was, quick to assemble. What were the other, real advantages here?
So just to touch upon the TVM aspect, we have, like you said, close to 1,000 apartments. Our family is working on our third luxury condo project in Peterborough, Ontario. So, this was a way to increase efficiency and kind of push what we do, what the construction industry is sort of thinking about home building wise. The real benefits, I think, the real crux are twofold. One, the building process is much more accelerated than traditional construction. And what I mean by that is that our home building can be done in the factory at the same time that the site work is done. So really only the whole project between 4 and 6 months. The second point is that because the home building is done in a factory off-site, our clients benefit from really limited noise and mess. We only start the site work about 3 to 4 weeks before the home is plopped down onto the foundation, the concrete slab or helical piles. And then we give the keys off for, carry-on warranty certificate and occupancy, and you're good to go.
Wow. So many great things you touched on there, which is amazing. The product is actually built off-site. It's then delivered to the homeowner. There's a design build aspect, right? I mean, where there's some modular things that they're able to sort of pick and choose and select. It's the property is prepared, as you say, meaning what does that mean exactly? They're bringing in gas line and electrical and things of that nature, plumbing?
So yeah, good question. So our Metrosuite takes care, when someone wants to do a garden suite, they would come to us, and we say we take care of everything from building permit through occupancy. So we're a full suite vendor builder, carry-on registered. And what happens is we prepare the site After an order is done, we would prepare the site and then order the home in our factory. And going to the site aspect, we would do the trench work, which would make the utility connections to the main dwelling. We would prepare, let's say it's a concrete slab with the utilities coming up, everything that needs to be done in preparation for the home that's delivered. And when it's delivered, it's craned over the main house, kind of like a pool or like a hot tub. And then we have a workforce on site, and they would connect the utilities once it's craned into place, and they would weatherproof it and a few other touch-ups if anything happened, during the craning or delivering aspect.
Wow, fantastic. So it really sounds to me like there's just so many great advantages, especially what you hit on earlier, which was the 4 to 6 months. I mean, especially in a climate like ours, where we really have a limited window where it's easier, at least, to be, dealing with below grade things and, pouring, slab, and it needs to, hit the right temperature to harden. So definitely, it sounds like, a fantastic advantage that you've got. And the speed. I mean, if I wanted a product and it had one offering that was, 14 months and another one that was, 4 to 6 months, that's a pretty big win. Offline, we were speaking a little bit about some of the different, offerings that you have in terms of, different products. Maybe you want to talk us through that lineup a little.
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer products for the Laneway suite market as well as for the garden suite market. We work in several municipalities, but most of our clients seem to be coming from Toronto. Mm-hmm. So I'll just speak specifically from Toronto because you're focused there as well. The Laneway suite program is different from the garden suite program in two key aspects. One, the Laneway suite program only applies to homes that abut a laneway. So that's more focused in the east and west of downtown core. Corso Italia, Cabbagetown, Leslieville, those areas. Yeah. And garden suites is a little more expansive. So it's for any home that has a backyard, essentially. For the Laneway suites, we have two main products. We have a one-story two-bed, and that's more for folks who are looking to a very cost-effective way to get a two-bed onto the market for income purposes. Mm-hmm. And then we have a two-bed, two-story with a carport, and that's to preserve parking. So I'll just speak briefly to the two-story. Mm-hmm. This product comes in 3 modules. So it comes 1 module on the ground floor, nothing, and then stilts on the other side of the ground floor, and then 2 more modules on top, which would be the dwelling residence. So that allows for the homeowner to have the benefit of parking where they can walk through from the laneway, as well as living space that they can either rent or have, family members live in and whatnot.
Yeah, so something else you sort of talked about there too, but so I'll dive into the 2-story thing. But first, what you had said to me earlier, which I thought was really fantastic, was that you were also making things accessible. So a ground floor unit that would remove parking, but that would also maybe potentially be wheelchair accessible. And there were lots of adjustments that you can make in order to accommodate that.
Yeah, great point. And I know we did talk about that offline. So, we're really listening to our customers. This is a very new business, a new industry, and we're taking feedback very seriously from what we're hearing from clients and homeowners. One of the biggest points is being handicap accessible and 1-story. A lot of folks are looking to live in these suites for a long period of time, and after it's built, and having everything on one floor is very important to them. So that's
pardon me, I'm sorry I interrupted you there, but especially that intergenerational this is really a challenge that the market is facing. People that, have an older family member that are still living alone, enjoying their autonomy, but there are real, challenges that start to rear their head as you age, and from more frequent trips to, doctors, or just inability to drive anymore, or things of that nature, which will really start, of course, to have a difference on people's lifestyle. So if, I could be hosting an elderly person living on my property, at the back of my property separately, it gives them their own dwelling. It gives me, knowledge that they're close by if anything ever should happen. But then, at the end of the day, we get to close our door, they get to close theirs. They still keep that, autonomy, as we said, right?
Mm-hmm.
While still being accessible and not being alone, which is obviously such a challenge.
100%. And just to add one more thing before we move on, we're working closely with the homeowner in the beaches. They're looking, just as an anecdote, they're looking to put their son and daughter-in-law and child, soon to be second child, on the main floor, which they're in the basement, and the older folks would live in the backyard. So that's exactly what you're saying. It's a total, it's a great use of the property to have the entire family together.
Wow. Really, it is a solution to a problem. And I like that a lot. And you had said to me that that's sort of how this came about, right? And it feels as though having this become a more affordable option certainly has some really attractive qualities here. The 2-story units that we were touching on, that's really incredible, creative, because now we're not losing parking. If this is, somebody who's got a garage at the back of their property, be it via, a lane or by, a driveway down the side of their house. So you're keeping parking, 1, 2 options for either.
Yeah. So, you touch on a really great point, and parking is very valuable, especially downtown. So we look to the European markets to see what sort of inspiration we can get for building a home that respects parking as well as offers living space. And this is a very great balance for the two. What I would say is that for our Laneway Suite products, for the 2-story and 1-story, they're different than our garden suites in that they have to sit on the property lines to maximize building space for homeowners. Plan that can be stretched and pulled to meet the requirements, building requirements of our homeowners. Whereas garden suites, they're fixed, the floor plans. So we offer quite a few at this point, and we're developing more based off feedback, like we chatted about.
So understanding what you're saying there basically is, so my property, for example, is a 25 by 130 lot. You would build basically to the lot boundaries, so 25 feet wide, and the parking depth, let's say, is 25 maybe feet, roughly speaking, maybe 20, 25. So that's an 800 square foot, space if it's on 2 levels. And you're customizing that, right? You're keeping 2 parking spaces. There's a staircase, of course, to get to the second level. Is there accessibility to a rooftop, or are these people getting access to outdoor space?
So we're not, the city, I believe, and please don't quote me on this, but the city only allows you to build 6 meters high for a 2-story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once you build that 2-story, you can't infract on the space above that. So what I mean by that is, at this point, you can't build a green roof where you can go up and enjoy the roof. I don't know if that will change, but there's kind of a respecting of the neighbor's space and shadow
That's
ability.
right. the light studies I know are very important with the city in terms of, you know, the build quality there. So yeah, so that makes sense. Um, so you know, obviously, you know, there's some trade-offs there. Maybe there isn't direct, you know, outdoor space. Maybe, you know, people are sharing the yard, particularly if it's intergenerational. Probably not for, you know, people that are doing this as investors, you know, for income suites. But I can certainly still see there being tons of advantages. You know, I've got a number of clients that own, you know, different condo units, and yeah, the condos, of course, you're not getting your own, you know, front door. You're waiting for elevators, and particularly, you know, the pandemic, I really think sort of showed us a negative side to condo ownership. Just sort of being pretty candid there, right? But it's true. So having your own front door, I think, is very attractive.
I would just say, sorry, I was just processing your question. It's a good question. We're further developing these floor plans always based off the projects that we're in various stages of right now with homeowners. And you know, one of the floor plans that we could be looking at in the future could be adding a balcony to the two-story unit to have that outdoor space. But I was hesitant to say that because it really depends on the property itself. You know, we've seen properties that are very, very skinny and they just want floor space, and so they don't want a balcony. So, you know, the Laneway suite market is very flexible. You know, there's a lot of different property types and dimensions, and the housing typologies are always changing.
Yeah, it's really interesting area, in my opinion. I think this is super interesting, you know, to learn about, and that's sort of why I love engaging and learning from you and hearing the great things you guys are working on. Where are you seeing things in terms of changes? Do you think that they're going to start allowing for more of those things? Obviously, this is all relatively new. It seems as though this is going to become, you know, the norm. Do we think this is, you know, going to start taking place on every other property, you know, in Toronto?
You know, it's very interesting. I think so. The Laneway suite market the program has been around since 2018. So we have more data versus the garden suite bylaw program, which has only been around for 4 or 5 weeks. The Laneway suite market, we're seeing properties that have Laneway homes, suites in the back. They've actually, they've more than increased. In some cases, it totally depends the value of the home. And so there's an accretive element to adding one of these. It totally depends on the neighborhood, the market conditions, but generally, because there's an income potential, there's a potential to have more living on the property. It can help increase the value of your property, which is really awesome. And you know, strictly speaking for the developments by the city, the planning department's doing an awesome job. You know, we were just talking about offline about another bylaw that's coming into place, could be 2023, the multiplex bylaw, which could allow, you know, homeowners that in single family homes, neighborhoods to develop their properties to add a quadplex, up to a quadplex.
Right.
And so that's another interesting development that I think your client should know.
Absolutely. Listen, I think that, you know, density really is what is going to start changing our city, in my personal opinion. You know, some 15, 20 years ago, downtown certainly didn't look the same. I recall growing up without there being, you know, umpteen glass towers in the skyline. And for sure, we're seeing a lot more of it happening. We still have the most cranes per capita. But I think as people are disliking what comes from that, the thing that's going to start happening, as we just were saying, is, you know, there being, you know, multiplexes in place of single family dwellings. That's going to start to change the landscape of the Toronto real estate market, I think, wholeheartedly. And it's definitely something for us to be looking out for. Very exciting changes, I think, to our market.
100%. 100%. We're on the same page.
Yeah. So, you know, with Metrosuite, what you guys are working on, I think, is just tremendously exciting. We talked about speed. We talked about, you know, the quality control a little bit. There must be some advantages there. I think that pricing is obviously one that people would want to sort of touch upon. I'd be remiss if we didn't, you know, talk a little bit about numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, our company offers a full package. So we take care of everything from building permit through occupancy. We are not a design builder or a custom builder. So if a client of yours or a homeowner is looking to, you know, get to the nitty gritty of choosing a door handle, that's not us. Our pricing is, we think, really competitive with other options. We just found that homeowners are choosing our options because of the extra benefit that they can get. Specifically for numbers, we kind of we guide a range. For garden suites for a studio, you know, the entire package pre-HST starts from middle to high twos, and then for Laneway suites goes to, you know, low to mid 400s, and that's a full package. So
that's,
you know,
very competitive, very competitive. You know, if we're looking at, you know, like I was saying, replacing, you know, 400 square feet or 800 square feet with, you know, purchasing a condo, and you know, there's obviously some advantages to it being offsite, but being able to develop on land and get access to that, I think, is very attractive because we're fixing different problems for sure. That is
awesome.
really incredible. Wow.
Another thing I just wanted to mention too is we're seeing in the market homeowners looking to get HST back, and there's been a few programs where folks can potentially get HST back depending on the end use case. So if they're and I'm not giving tax advice there. I just want to clarify that.
Love it.
But they should really look into that because they could get a huge chunk of HST back, especially on multi-gen uses.
Oh, interesting. Sorry. So you're saying if there's like an elderly person or yeah, for children or something like that you're using it for,
then they could get some HST back.
There you have it. Talk to your accountants, everybody. Interesting. Fantastic. Well, you've got the turnkey solution, the clear value offering here. I think the, you know, quality control that's happening, the clear speed of bringing these things and craning them over, and an installation happening, I think, you know, much faster than competition as well. You know, you're perfectly aligned, you know, right now with where the Toronto market is, I think, with garden suites just passing, and obviously Laneway is becoming more and more prominent, it seems, you know, by the day. Metrosuite seems to certainly be on the rise. I think this is amazing. If anybody wants to get into contact with you, how would they do so?
They would email. So the first step would be to email us at info@metrosuite.ca, and maybe you could include that in your newsletter.
Yeah, for certain.
So what we would do is take a look at your property to first see if you're eligible under the program, and if we believe that you are, then we would reach out to you to schedule a site visit, and then prepare a beautiful 8 to 10 page proposal, sort of like a package where we offer one fixed price that does not change, and how we work and how your project might work.
Wow, really exciting stuff. This is fantastic. Jacob, thank you for everything. Super excited about what you're working on, and we'll continue to sort of follow along and you know, push the business that you've got here. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, talk to you soon.